Hey Aaron, it's Karen. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I just wanted to talk to you and our few subscribers about how important today is. Not only because it is Martin Luther King Day, but also because Barack Obama was sworn in for a second term today. Dr. King was basically considered to be the Gandhi of the American Civil Rights Movement. And it's funny how people that seem to be only want to have peace in the world end up being assassinated. What your teachers in elementary school, middle school, and high school don't really talk about is how African Americans weren't protected by the federal government until 1964 when the Equal Rights Act passed. They were protected by the state governments, and attorney generals in that state were in charge of it, in charge of keeping things equal. And they didn't do a very good job of that in the South, especially after the Civil War. After the Civil War until 1964 is considered the nadir of the African American experience, which means that's when things were at the lowest of the low. Things were worse than slavery. I mean, really think about that. For things to be so bad that slavery is better. The KKK in at least one state in the South killed one person every 3 days for 3 years at their height. And that's just in one state in the South. People lived in fear. A black person could be lynched because they wouldn't step aside on the sidewalk for a white person. They could be killed for that. And for lynchings to go on until, I think the last recorded lynching was in the 60s. Early 60s, late 50s. I'm not exactly sure. I might not be completely correct about that, but it wasn't like it happened 100 years ago. It happened in at least my parents' lifetime. Kind of. I mean, my mom was probably just an infant. But it's still. And for us to have a day dedicated towards Dr. King, but also the things that he stood for, is a great thing. It shows how fast our minds can change in the United States and also the world. And especially for Barack Obama to even be president. And I know this was a topic mostly talked about 4 years ago, but it still is amazing to this day. 15, 20 years ago, it wasn't even thought of that this could happen. For someone whose people didn't have equal rights under federal law 50 years ago, to become president of that same country is mind-blowing, really. And for him to be sworn in for the second time on Martin Luther King Day just sort of not completes, but is part of Dr. King's vision for a world where everyone is equal. And I think it's great for the United States to make that transition in such a short amount of time. And I know it may not seem like it's short, but in the grand scheme of things, it really is. It's not something that necessarily happens all the time. And I think it just shows what a great country we live in. And I'm not saying that this country is perfect, by no means. What country is? But it's stuff like this that really makes me proud to be an American. And with that, I'll see you tomorrow.